Good Monday morning. It's August 10th, 2020. I'm Guy McPherson here from GuyMcPherson.com, otherwise known as Nature Bats Last. And I'd like to start by pointing out that there are lots of channels on YouTube. So the people who send me email messages or comment on this channel in the other videos that I'm not open to criticism, or that you hate these videos, which kind of makes me wonder why you watch them. There are other places to go. There are other channels to turn to. No comments are allowed in this space because I'm not paid, and I haven't been paid for 11 and a half years. I do this primarily for my own enjoyment and also to point out the absurdity of the moment. I've mentioned other reasons we provide these videos as well, so I'm not going to get into those here. You can find all those explanations at GuyMcPherson.com if you just poke around the slightest little bit. So this morning, before I provide the headlines and the market update as the stock market's open in the United States, I'd like to point out that this is also a space for me to advertise. So my latest book is now out. It's called Another Voice Crying in the Wilderness, My Homage to Edward Abbey. It is modeled closely after Ed Abbey's last book that he completed about 11 days before he died in 1989. It's called A Voice Crying in the Wilderness. This one is called Another Voice Crying in the Wilderness. So if you'd like to order this at a reasonable cost, go again to GuyMcPherson.com, and there are several options there: paperback, Kindle, and signed, inscribed version from yours truly. I will start with a few headlines from last Friday. Friday is sometimes called Take Out the Trash Day by people in the know on Capitol Hill. And it's Take Out the Trash Day because any news released Friday afternoon is not going to be noticed by the masses, at least not to any great extent. You release information on Friday afternoon, even to the corporate media outlets, and it just disappears because Americans are busy to get home. Then they spend their entire weekend doing presumably fun things. And so you can release anything on Friday afternoon, and by Monday morning when Americans are going to work, they don't remember anything. You could put out in the New York Times and the Washington Post, you could put out a story about aliens landing in Western Virginia and abducting 38,000 people. And if you announce that on Friday, by Monday, most Americans are just slogging to work, drinking their coffee, and wondering how miserable their day is going to be today. So, Take Out the Trash Friday. Here we have some stories, some headlines from Friday. From USA Today, health directors told to keep quiet as Florida leaders pressed to reopen classrooms. So, the people pulling the strings of empire, the people in power, want to open the classrooms, and they want the health directors to shut up and not point out that doing so could be catastrophic for the health of children. The health of children is irrelevant to the people pulling the strings of empire. After all, they're sociopaths. So they want the schools to open so that we can maintain the appearance that business as usual is working just fine. From CNN Politics, fact check. Will there be a coronavirus vaccine by November? Short answer, no. Long answer, no. From Forbes, also last Friday, stock market crash, the battle between retail traders and smart money. And nobody wants to talk about the stock market crash. If you mention that on Monday, people around the water cooler at work will be talking about it all week. And it might actually lead to people pulling their money out of the stock market, and that might actually lead to a stock market crash, and we can't have that. So let's release that information on Friday afternoon, preferably after the market's closed. Oh, look at that. That's when it was done, Friday afternoon. All right, a few headlines from today. This one from Bloomberg. China avoids top Trump aides in Hong Kong retaliatory sanctions. And here's the lead, which makes a lot more sense than that headline. China said it will sanction 11 Americans in retaliation for similar measures imposed by the U.S. on Friday. But the list doesn't include any members of the Trump administration. So other people, including senior senators, are mentioned, but China is trying to avoid an escalation of the international crisis between the United States and China. Wisely so, I would say. From the Wall Street Journal this morning, U.S. agency sidelines planned $765 million loan to Kodak amid probes. I mentioned this last week, that Kodak was being provided a $765 million loan to allow them to carry on their business. Here's the subhead. The move comes as the SEC, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission, investigates Kodak's disclosure of the loan and stock options granted to executives. So, caught with their hand in the cookie jar, now maybe they aren't going to get that loan after all. From NPR this morning, a national lockdown could be the economy's best hope, says Minneapolis Fed president. So, this is somebody actually pointing out the facts that if we're going to maintain something resembling an economy, we're going to need living people to do it. And so the lockdown might allow for enough people to survive that we can maintain something resembling business as usual in the wake of that lockdown. From the street this morning, Dow futures higher as markets focus stimulus talks in Washington. Also, oil gains on China data and Saudi outlook. I remember not that long ago when oil increasing in price was bad for the stock market, but now it's good because demand is so low because we're in the midst of an economic crisis worse than the Great Depression. Finally, from MarketWatch, European stocks and Dow futures rise after Trump unilaterally extends jobless benefits. And I think that one's pretty straightforward. And that takes us to 9:33 in the morning here on the east coast of the United States, Central Florida. And all of the market indexes are skyrocketing this morning. The Dow Jones is up 140 points, the NASDAQ up 20, the S&P 500 up 7 points. So it's all go, go, go. Doesn't matter what kind of good news, bad news precedes the stock market opening. As long as there's a little hope that can be built into the picture, it's all systems go, and that means the stocks are going up. Thanks for staying tuned. This is the next to the last video that we will produce before we take off for a rafting adventure on the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon. So that starts Wednesday morning. This is Monday morning, August 10th. So one more of these and then a significant break. Assuming we survive, we'll be back after that break.